What's up, guys? This is Chapter 2 test review. We're doing Form K. I posted this on our website. So we're going to discuss how to do Chapter 2 test review. Obviously, put your name up here. I'm just doing this to make sure my pen works because you guys know my pen doesn't work all the time. So let's scroll up to the important stuff. Do you know how is the question. It's always good to answer or look at all these questions and think about it for a second. Do you know how? It's asking, do you know how to do something? And a lot of this is not math related, it's just vocabulary. Do you know what the vocabulary means now? Determine whether each relation is a function. Remember, a function has a couple things. The x does not repeat, right? No repeat, right? And then another thing has a vertical line test that also passes. So basically you're putting something in for x and you're going to churn it out and you get the output of a y. So this is the input. Here's the output. Computers do this. Input is the work you do. Output could be your pay. That's probably the best scenario you guys see. I work 6 hours, right? We talked about that in class. At $10 an hour, and that output will be $60, right? Before taxes, of course. Okay, here we go. Do any of the x's repeat? Remember, it's x, comma, y for all these. 0, 4, 5, and 4. So you have the 4 repeat. So it is a no, right? And you could put because 4 repeats, but it's not asking for that. So you just got to put no. And number 2 says, is this a function? Here's the x's. It's all we're looking for here. There's no graph, so we can't do the vertical line test. You have a -1, a -5, a 0, and a 4, and a 2. And this is a yes because nothing is repetitive. If you graph this on the graph, obviously nothing would repeat and it would pass the vertical line test. Number 3, evaluate each function for the given value of x. So you're going to solve for x, right? And write the input x and the output we just talked about, f of x, as an ordered pair. So you need to write everything looking like this. Okay? So we know x is going to equal -2 in this first one. So on the bottom here, we're going to write right away -2. We know the input. We don't know the output, so you can leave that blank. And over here, you can do the same thing. Right? Oops, I was going to put x. We can just put that for fun. And over here, we're going to put 8 space. So here we go. Let's put in -2 and solve. And you can do this in your calculators very easily. This number goes right in for x. There's no work on your part that you need to do. So 7, -2, plus 5, right? 7 times -2 is -14 plus 5. -14 plus 5 is -9. So your calculator will give you that answer, but this is right here is going to be your answer. You're going to make sure you circle your answers so all teachers realize what it is. So now you put 8 in for x over here. So 1/4 times 8 minus 6, right? So 1/4 times 8 you can do in your calculator, or you can just do 8 times 1 is 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 minus 6 is -4. So here's your answer, 8, -4. Over here, your answer is -2, -9. Remember, this is exactly how your test will be set up. I'm using Form K. Your Form G will be your test. For each function, determine whether y varies directly with x. If so, find the constant of the variation and write down the function for the rule. Does it vary with x every time? Number 1, I'm going to give you the answer. We're going to figure out why it is true. So we're going to say yes, it is varies directly, and the function is always k equals 4, and the constant or the function rule for this is y equals 4x. So the easiest thing to do first is taking your y's, or you can plug it into the formula we know, right? Y equals kx and solve, right? Or if you wanted to, you just divide every time y divided by, right, x also equals k. because if you divide by x on each side, you get y over x. So 12 divided by 3 equals 4, right? 20 divided by 5 equals 4. And 32 divided by 8 also equals 4. So you know it obviously is going to be 4 every time. Then you're going to plug that 4 in for the k, because we know what the k is. The constant is 4 every time. You're going to find this equation right here, and it's going to look a lot like this equation. They're exactly the same. So number 6, let's try that without giving the answer first, right? What is 11 divided by 6? Well, you can't do that. It's a really weird number, right? You can subtract them and figure it out, but every time you subtract, right, it's minus 5. But you can't do that because a function rule is, remember, y equals kx. There's no plus or minus at the end for the function. This is the function. You can't do plus or minus at the end. So we know right away, because there's no division or multiplication possible, this is a no. It's not a function, because the answer would actually be y equals x minus 5 every time, I think, or something like that. I can't figure that out on the spot, but that's what the rule would look like most undoubtedly. And I just drew on the board there. I don't have my eraser set up right now, so I'm not going to erase that. I apologize. We're going to number 7 and 8. 7 and 8 says graph each function. So to graph, you need to solve for y. Remember, this homework is worth points. You need to do this entire thing. You can copy my answers down, that's fine, but I want you to understand it so you can take the test, right? The homework or the pre-test is worth 50 points, the test is worth 100. So here we go. 4x minus 3y equals negative 2. Let's minus 4x first. You have negative 3y, sorry about that, equals negative 4x minus 2. Now you want to get rid of that negative 3. So you can divide by negative 3 on the whole equation. And I'm going to go over here so I can graph on this side. And I'm going to go y will now equal negative 4 divided by negative 3 is just a 4 over 3 x. And negative divided by negative is a positive again, 2/3. It's a funky one here. But you had to just solve and graph. And this is more like a 7th grade problem here. So you guys are very lucky to have this easy equation here. And so let's go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we kind of have a graph there. And we're going to start off our y-intercept is right here. It's 2/3, so it's to be about right here. Oh, my board's not calculated right, so a little more to that first line there. And then our slope's going to be 4 over 3. So you can go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 3. So it's about right there. And so you're going to look like that is your graph. And this should be above, should be up here more, but I'm off a little bit. Let's do number 8 now together. And again, we got to solve for y. So we're going to get everything else on the other side. So you're going to minus 3 and minus x at the same time. And you can do that at the same time because there's 0 on this side. So we're going to minus 3 and minus x. So your equation will look like y equals negative x minus 3. That's your equation. So let's now graph this. And you have a negative slope. And you start at negative 3. So let's put a dot there. And it's going to go down 1, right? 1 over. So that's your graph. And you can go up 1 over this side. So your graph will look kind of like that. Again, I'm not the best on the smartboard, but that's what your graph's going to look like with your y-intercept at negative 3 right there. Number 9, write in point slope form an equation. The line passing through the pair of points. Remember, point slope form is very important. Y minus y1, that's your first point, equals your slope x minus x1. Correct? We don't know the slope, so you got to find out the slope first. And to find out the slope, this is point slope. You got to subtract, right? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you're going to do negative 2 minus 8 first. Those are your y's. 0 minus 5 next. Negative 2 minus 8 is negative 10, and 0 minus negative 5 is negative 5. Divide, you get a positive 2. Because 10 divided by 5 is 2. Positives cancel out. So now you have a slope of 2, right? All you're going to do is write this in point slope form, by the way. So you don't have to do anything else but write it. So let's go up a little higher, and let's write this in point slope form. I'm going to choose the easier point here, which is 0, negative 2. You can choose the first one too, and you actually get the same answer. But we're not going to do that because the numbers are bigger. So we're going to repeat this formula right here. Y minus, and our y is a negative 2. So you can do y minus a negative 2 or y plus 2. Then you're going to equal the slope, and then x minus 0. And so this will be fun because it's just, you distribute this and you can solve this, and it's actually y equals 2x plus 2 if you wanted to graph it. Same thing for the number 10 right here. We're going to find the slope first. Okay, so let's find the slope first. The y's we're going to subtract first. Negative 2 minus 3, the 6 and minus 1. So negative 5, and then 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so negative 1 is our slope. Now we're going to choose the first point because these are a little smaller. So here we go. Y minus y1 is 3 equals our slope of negative 1. X minus 1 will be our point slope form right there. And that's correct. Any questions so far? So now we have a blank page on my board, which is kind of weird, but sometimes it happens when you print things off. Number 14. So we have 19 questions here. We're not going to do them all. We're going to stop pretty soon, and we're going to have the rest of them as bonus or extra credits. So now write the function rule of g of x for the given transformations applied to a graph of, here's the original function. It's right here. This is the parent function we talked about. So we got to do adding and subtracting. And remember, 4 units down, right? That'll be your y. And 1 units left will be your x. And it's off of y. We had the h and the k, remember, in there before. So it's going to look a little weird. There's no stretch. But we did this before. We did the y equals a x minus h plus k. That's our kind of our parent function. So we're going to subtract 1 units left, right? Is going to be subtraction. So you're going to have your parent function looking like this, or it actually tells us to do a g of x. So we're going to do g of x equals, right? And we're going to transform all this information into here, right? It's not absolute value, so you could have just done our parentheses here. If this is absolute value function, you can do this absolute value ones. And it's x, and because it's left, it's going to be a negative 1, but a negative times a negative is a positive, so x plus 1, right, squared, and it's 4 units down. So down is going to be minus 4, and that's your answer. So for the test, you just have to put in this 4 over here and the 1 right there. All right, number 12 is exactly the same. You have 3 units to the right, which is going to be minus 3. So g of x equals x minus 3 squared, and it's 7 units up, so that's plus. So plus 7 at the end. There you go. It's not too hard, actually, if you think about what we've done here. And then number 13 to 14, it says graph each function and tell us what the translation is. And we're not going to ask that. We're just going to ask you what the translation is. So what's the transformation or translation? And this is actually going to be, because it's a negative 2, remember? So it's actually going to be the opposite of a negative. It's going to be plus 2, right, to the right, because it's an x. And there's nothing out here for the y, so you don't have to worry about that. Number 14 is a trick question because it has a negative sign here. If you remember the negative sign from our notes, when there's a negative sign, it means reflection. Right? So it's a reflection, and there's nothing here, no 0 here, or nothing there, so you have to present